Ahoy! Captain Benzie here, coming at you with an intel report, the series that takes every unit in CNC Rivals and breaks it down to show you how to use it and how to counter it. I'm not paid for any of these videos and I do intend to keep them ad-free. If you're enjoying them and finding them helpful, therefore, please do consider taking a few seconds to drop a donation into my digital tip jar. I've popped the link into the description below. Today we are looking at the GDI Sandstorm. The AHV-8 Sandstorm is a GDI hover vehicle notable for its ability to fire a seemingly endless volley of guided missiles at multiple enemy air and ground forces simultaneously. Built from the GDI Tech Labs, Sandstorms are terrifying anti-air units. Their missile salvos are fast and hard-hitting and will clear the skies of any enemy aircraft to wander close. Ground units are not safe from their barrage by any means, however, and Sandstorms can go toe-to-toe with many of the heavier War Factory units. Sandstorms are able to engage up to 3 enemy units at once in a cone in front of them, which makes them a frightening prospect at clumped groups of vehicles and aircraft. Note that whilst they can hit up to 3 adjacent units, this is only if those units are adjacent to each other. If the units are separated by a space, the Sandstorm will only target one of them. Now, a Sandstorm's main weakness comes in the form of anti-vehicle infantry like cyborgs and zone troopers, but even missile and laser squads will bring a Sandstorm down quite quickly, especially in numbers. And the Sandstorm doesn't do all that much damage back to them. That said, heavier War Factory units and Tech Lab units can destroy Sandstorms if you hit them with multiple at once. Just spread your attackers out to avoid them all taking damage from the Sandstorm barrage, and of course, as with most things in life, if all else fails, send in a Titan. So what kind of deck does a Sandstorm play well in? Well, I've had a lot of fun with the deck shown on screen now. As tech units, Sandstorms are quite expensive and definitely late game units. As such, a good early game is required. We get this in the form of missile squads for scouting, and early anti-vehicle and anti-air punch. The shockwave troopers give us some tanky early units to halt the pads and to deal with enemy infantry, and the jump jet troopers are swift and great at hunting down enemy vehicles. This gives us most answers to most problems in just the barracks. Then we move up into the helipad. Talons are here to deal with enemy infantry like pesky flame troopers, chem warriors and snipers, especially if those flame or shockwave troopers are higher level than your own, but they do give us some good anti-air against things like venoms. The orcas are great for punching enemy ground units hard when the jump jet troopers aren't quite good enough or if the target is protected by strong anti-infantry. Do be aware that you'll need to be good at microing your jump jet troopers to deal with anti-air firepower like attack bikes and pit bulls, and this does give this deck a little bit of a learning curve, but arguably ups the fun. Now, I've chosen Strong Arm for this deck, as her turret is great for pulling your aircraft back to safety and helps add that little bit of extra damage to your matchups. A quick turret deployment can swing an awkward 1v1 into a winning engagement for you. Now, the Sandstorms here are chosen both as anti-vehicle and anti-air punch. Talons don't do well against Banshees, and leaving your missile troops to run all over the battlefield isn't necessarily ideal. So the Sandstorms make fantastic blockers for your orcas to retreat behind if your opponent starts pulling out hammerheads or phantoms as well. Now, the basic premise of this deck is that of an aggro deck. Secure the first pads early, go on the offensive with your orcas and jump jet troopers. If you can pop their harvester, awesome. This will allow you to build into a tech lab early and start reinforcing the pads with Sandstorms. Your Talons and Orcas then have a safe haven to retreat to, and work in a wonderful synergy covering each other's weaknesses. Now, if you're not a fan of air units, you can swap the Talons and Orcas for Pitbulls and Predators. This does make for a slightly slower, heavier feeling deck that requires a bit more forethought to play, whereas the previous deck is a little bit more reactionary. And it leaves most of the anti-infantry duty on the shoulders of the shockwave troopers. As such, I'd swap out Strong Arm for Jackson so that he can boost up your units when they need it. I hope that's helpful. Be sure to check out my other intel reports if you're struggling against certain units, or looking for tips as to how to best apply a new unit in your deck. Also check out my Acting on Instinct series with analysis of game mechanics and solid advice on how to get ahead in Rivals. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe to be up to date and ahead of the game. Happy sailing, and see you on the battlefield!